Hello everyone, good day. My name is Hadz Sayre and my bachelor is Bachelor of Science in Customs Administration. So for today's event, I will be having an initial assessment for a educational tour oral deliberation. So let's proceed. So first is the Regulatory and Taxation or BOC, NAIA, and Tariff Commission. So during my visit to the Bureau of Customs at NAIA and the Tariff Commission, I saw how the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act is applied in real life through inspecting goods, classifying them, and calculating the correct duties and taxes. So the next one is the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act or CMTA is the law that guides how imported goods are inspected, classified, and taxed, which I saw being applied in real operation during my visit to the Bureau of Customs at NAIA. So the next one is the minimis value. The minimis value is the minimum value of imported goods that are exempt from duties and taxes, which I learned during my visit to the Bureau of Customs at NAIA, where small shipments can be released without taxes. So the next one is HS code. HS code is the numerical system used to classify imported goods for proper taxation, which I saw being used by officers at the Bureau of Customs during my educational tour to determine the correct duties. So the next one is the ASEAN Harmonized Tariff Nomenclature, also known as the AHTN. AHTN is detailed classification system used in ASEAN to assign correct tariff rates to goods, which I learned was applied during my visit to the Tariff Commission, ensure accurate duties and taxes. So let's proceed to the tariff classification ruling. The tariff classification ruling is an official decision on the correct classification of goods for proper taxation, which I learned helps guide officers at the Tariff Commission during my tour. So the next one is the lodgement. The lodgement is the process of submitting import documents into the customs system, which I saw being done at Bureau of Customs as the first step in processing shipments. So let's proceed to the selectivity system, which also known as the color lanes. The selectivity system is how customs decides which shipments need inspection. For example, green, so it is determined as automatically released. So the next one is yellow, documented check. And the next one is the red color. So the red one is needed to be a full inspection, which I observed at the Bureau of Customs during my tour also. So the next one is the physical examination. The physical examination is when customs manually opens and checks goods, which I saw happening for certain shipments during my visit. So the next one is non-intrusive inspection or X-ray. So non-intrusive inspection is scanning cargo without opening it, which I witnessed being used at the Bureau of Customs to quickly inspect shipments. And the next one is assessment of duties and taxes. So, assessment of duties and taxes is the process of calculating how much tax and customs duty a shipment must pay, which I which I saw being done by officers at the Bureau of Customs during my tour also. So the next one is airway bill. Airway bill is a document that serves as proof of shipment for air cargo, which I observed being checked at BOC NAIA. So the next one is abandoned goods. Abandoned goods are shipments not claimed by the importer within a certain period, which I learned can be auctioned by the Bureau of Customs. And the next one is BOC Port of Entry. BOC Port of Entry is the official airport or seaport where goods enter the Philippines, which I visited and saw how customs inspected and processes shipments there. And the next one is import entry. Import entry and Internal Revenue Declaration, or also known as EIRD, is the main document declaring imported goods and the own taxes owed, which I saw being submitted and processed at the Bureau of Customs during my tour. The next one is Customs Appraiser. Customs Appraiser is the officer who determines the value of imported goods for correct taxation, which I observed performing assessments at BOC NAIA. And the next one is anti-dumping duty. Anti-dumping duty is an extra tax imposed on imported goods sold below normal market value to protect local industries, which I learned is applied by customs when necessary. Necessary. Necessary, rather. And the next one is logistics and brokerage operation. Logistics and brokerage operations refer to the process of managing the movement, documentation, and delivery of goods, which I experienced during my visit to NMM, Customs Brokers, and MSTSI Subic, where I saw how shipments are handled, documented, and transported for the port to their final destination. The next one is declarant. Declarant is the person or company that submits import or export documents to customs, which I saw in actions at NMM Customs during our tour. And the next one is Incoterms 2020. Incoterms are international rules that define the responsibilities of buyers and sellers in shipping, which I learned which I learned are sellers in shipping, uh, which I learned are applied by brokers to determine who pays for transport and insurance and duties. And the next one is bill of lading. Bill of lading is a legal document issued by the carrier that proves ownership and receipt of goods, which I observed being processed at MSTSI Subic. The next one is demurrage. The demurrage is a fee charged when a container stays too long at the port, which I learned about during my visit to MSTSI Subic. The next one is detention. Detention is Detention is a fee for keeping a container outside the port beyond the allowed time, which I also observed explained by port staff. The next one is TEU, the 20-foot equivalent unit. The TEU is a standard measurement for container size, helping ports and shipments lines track cargo, which I saw being used to organize shipment at MSTSI Subic. The next one is stevedoring. Stevedoring is the process of loading and unloading cargo from ships, which I saw being carried out at MSTSI during our tour. The next one is arrastre. Arrastre is the movement of cargo within the port area, such as from the ship to the warehouse, which I observed happening at the port. The next one is manifest. Manifest is a detailed list of all cargo on ship or aircraft, which I learned is used by port staff and customers to track shipments. And the next one is freight forwarding. Freight forwarding is the service of arranging and managing the shipment of goods from origin to destination, as I observed during in our educational tour. And that's all. Thank you.